My regular viewers will all be well aware that this year, 2025, we celebrate the bicentenary of the world's first passenger steam railway service, the 1825 opening of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. Not the world's first railway. Coal-carrying railways were already well established on Tyneside. But the 27th of September 1825 saw the first steam locomotive hauling both freight and passengers. George and Robert Stephenson's engine locomotion, or number 1, pulled mixed trains of passengers and small goods at speeds of 12 to 14 miles per hour. Many of today's railway companies are making special offers available to celebrate this bicentenary, and I've taken up such an offer to visit a place I've long wanted to see, but have never managed. It's going to be a long day. Northern trains have booked me onto an Avanti West Coast London-bound train, and I'll continue my journey with Northern, Transpennine Express and then Northern again to reach my destination. My return will be by a different route. I arrived here on the 0604 from Dumfries. An early start and no cheap fares on ScotRail at that hour. This isn't my Avanti train, it's an earlier one running late. Mine is following it. Dawn is breaking as we approach Preston. The Pendolino, although riding very smoothly, is not a pleasant way to travel, at least not in standard class. Most airliners offer more space than I've got here, and have very limited view despite my so-called window seat. I'm carrying a heavy, bulky rucksack, and there's nowhere to put it except on my knee. Preston is always a busy pickup point for London-bound trains, and we're already pretty full. However, this train is taking the slower route via Birmingham. The one in front of us is the faster direct service, so it may have picked up the bulk of the intending travellers. I'm leaving this service at Wigan and joining a northern train for Manchester Victoria, travelling via Eccles, the only stop along the route. The train, Unit 331023, is far more spacious than the Pendolino, brighter with much bigger windows, an altogether pleasanter experience, and much less busy. We've left the West Coast Main Line and are heading for George Stephenson's original Liverpool and Manchester Railway at Parkside Junction. And here is the Liverpool and Manchester Railway, where in the 1829 Rainhill trials, Stephenson's locomotive Rocket proved itself superior to the other entrants into a competition to discover the most suitable motive power for the new line.
is Eccles. Mind the gap between the train and the platform hitch.
I lived and worked in the Manchester area in the 1960s, but would hardly recognise it today.
We will shortly be arriving at Manchester Victoria. Mind the gap between the train and the platform hitch.
Back in the 1960s, there was no direct rail link between North and South Manchester. The present connections are quite recent, especially the Ordsall or Castlefield curve, which opened in December 2017. Past the last remnants of the old exchange station and into Victoria.
This is Manchester Victoria, where this train terminates.
This is not the Victoria which I knew. Platform 3, facing me, was then Platform 11, and continued to become Exchange Station's Platform 3, making it Europe's longest railway platform. Here's my next train, a Transpennine diesel service from Liverpool Lime Street to Hull, travelling via Huddersfield and Leeds. Not quite as airy or spacious as my northern train, but a pleasant ride, and an excellent coffee and fruitcake from the onboard trolley. No cash accepted, only cards.
Tickets as they may be required if exiting this station.
First stop Stalybridge, where the station's famous bar has long been on my to-do list. Not today, I'm afraid. Pennine scenery. My last ever steam-hauled journey on British Rail was over this route, in the opposite direction, behind a Black 5 in the late mid-1960s. And the poor old Stania Loco really struggled on the climb from Leeds to Stanage Tunnel, having to be looped a couple of times to build up steam pressure and allow those agile class 124 diesel multiple units to speed on their merry way. Now we approach the site of the old Diggle station and the entrance to the 3 miles 60-yard long tunnel, one of 4 more or less parallel bores through the Pennines here. 3 were railway tunnels, but the track has been lifted from the other 2, and the 4th, the oldest of them all, carries the Huddersfield Canal. The canal tunnel has no towpath, so barges had to be legged through it, an arduous task. In 2008, I travelled through the canal tunnel in an electric tug, hauling a convoy of narrowboats. Because that tunnel was absolutely level throughout its length, It had water troughs to replenish steam engines, the only site possible between Manchester and Leeds. Huddersfield. Although this very busy Transpennine route is significantly faster today than when I knew it in the steam era, it's currently undergoing major upgrading work to electrify it and enable a faster, more intensive service.
Next stop in a few moments' time will be Leeds. If you're leaving the train here, please make sure you do take all your belongings with you and mind the gap between the train and the platform. If you're leaving the station, do return your tickets as barriers will be in operation. And if you've got connections, please see the information screens on main station concourse. Leeds, our next station stop.
Leeds is one of Britain's busiest railway stations, with direct services to most parts of the kingdom. But this isn't my destination. I've a fifth train ride ahead of me yet.
Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required if exiting this station.
The final part of the journey is aboard one of Northern Rail's Class 333. High-density five-a-side seating, but fast, quiet and spacious, except perhaps in the rush hour. This is new territory to me. I've never travelled this line before. Shame about the weather, but it might improve. After 5 hours of travelling, I've reached my destination. Have you worked out where I am yet? The drawback to these special offers is that they have to be purchased well in advance, and no refunds. The weather is persistently wet, so no prospect of using the drone. It's January, the Manor House Museum and the parish church are shut for the winter. The riverside walk and gardens are distinctly unappealing on this damp grey day. Only the remains of the Roman wall are available to view. Yes, this was a significant Roman settlement in its day. Fortunately, having done my research before travelling, I knew where to spend a couple of hours if the weather should prove unfriendly. A fascinating old pub with its own brewery. The house was warm, the staff friendly, and the ale was excellent. Food was cooked to my order, and very good too. Had the weather been better, and I had more time to spare, I might have had a wander up onto Ilkley Moor, though I should of course have had to abandon my hat. So back to the station and the train to Leeds. Then home via Bradford, Halifax, the Calder Valley, Burnley and Blackburn to Preston, where the northbound trains were running late as a result of a faulty train ahead. Happily, the guard agreed to my joining an earlier train than the one I was booked onto, so not too late home. 9 trains, 4 companies, 6 different routes, and all for less than £30. Here's to George and Robert Stevenson, Locomotion, Rocket, and 1825. And here's to the next time.